All right, we do have some breaking news. Brock Wright, watch, day 5, a decision has been made. Ian Rappaport's source, the Lions have decided to match the 3-year, $12 million offer for restricted free agent tight end, Brock effing Wright.
Oh, my.
He is back. So this is interesting. They, like, when I see 3 years, $12 million, is Brock Wright, TE2, worth $4 million, a commitment, $4 million this year, $4 million next year, $4 million a year after? Maybe not. Maybe not. But is Brock Wright, TE2, worth $5 million this year, $2.5 million next year with avoidable third year or something like that?
Right.
Like, we have to see the contract breakdown. Brock Wright is what he is. He is something that we here in Detroit have the capability of doing that I think it actually differentiates our sports market from many others. I think a lot of sports markets were very, very similar. There's different emphasis on different sports. You know, Boston's a real baseball town. LA's a Laker town. Detroit, we have the 4 major food groups, but we've discovered that, you know, the Lions are, you know, the big dog here, and that's fine. But Brock Wright fits that category of role player, doesn't get paid too much, who does his job well, and kind of keeps his mouth shut. And when you take your role player, if we elevate him and pay him too much, and I don't think this is paying Brock Wright too much necessarily, I hope it doesn't cost him anything on the back end of this, but they must have been able to work the numbers and say, yeah, this is fine. And maybe they knew that all along, and they were just letting it play out to the last minute, but they've decided to keep TE2 Brock Wright. How do you feel about it?
I like it. Obviously, I'm a Brock Wright fan. I think that he fills I don't know if it's significant, but a borderline significant role with his team. He definitely helps out in all aspects. I think he's a very solid blocker. Got solid hands. He catch 14 of the 15 targets, or 13 of 14 targets last year. He's not utilized a whole lot in the passing game, but when they do throw him a bone, he catches it. And I think having the continuity helps, and having a guy who's, you know, part of the grind helps. Special teams player, all that. And it doesn't sound like it's going to be exorbitant. I mean, they didn't overpay, right? They didn't get too caught up in it and throw the guy, you know, $7 million a season. We'll see what the final numbers end up being, but if it falls in line, it could be anywhere between 3 and 4 a season. So I'm happy he gets that. I'm curious what this means for the rest of the free agency. Are they done? You know, 2 guys they bring back today, Kindle Vildor and Brock Wright. Can't imagine Vildor's contract is going to be anything toothsome. You know, 1 year for $1 million, something like that.
Should not be heavy.
Yeah, and, you know, Wright's isn't going to be too toothsome either. So do they still have some space to go out and do something? We know they always save space. That their plan is that they save millions in case they want to make a move at some point and have the flexibility. So we'll see how much longer this plays out, how many more, you know, free agents are signed in the National Football League between now and the draft, or is there another wave that comes immediately after the draft? But there are players I think that they still need to look at in free agency. So I'm curious how this works out for them.
I can't say with any definitive strong opinion on this until we see the actual numbers. Like, there's $6 million guaranteed. If it's 4.5 this year, 1.5 next year, voidable third year, I mean, that sounds very easy to fit under the cap, most specifically in what should be a more challenging 2025 as it relates to the cap. 2025 will be the first year that all these extensions that they have to sign kick in. And those numbers can be finagled, but you don't want it to cost you any player that you desire to keep. If there was no cap, they'd probably still have Jonah Jackson. They did a nice job getting Zeitler from Baltimore, and actually maybe an upgrade, but it certainly isn't a big step back.
It's no step back.
They've really survived that well. So now they get Brock Wright back, and I'm pleased because we don't have to worry about that now. Blocking tight end and that key fourth down weapon in that big game, like he was this year. He had the big touchdown against the Jets. And I do find it awfully intriguing that the two best teams in the NFC wanted Brock Wright. San Francisco wanted him. Detroit wanted him just as much. So
exactly.
Unrestricted free agent, got an offer from San Francisco. Detroit can say, we'll